Hey y'all, it is February the 26th, 2020, and as I say that, I can barely even believe it, you guys. We have a whole bunch to discuss tonight. It's getting cold over here in San Antonio, Texas. We got a whole bunch that we're going to cover a little bit tonight, and I appreciate everybody for joining in with me as we start, as I go get my coffee over yonder. I want to share with y'all a cover song that is right here, and as you can see, it's 9 years old, and I've maybe known about it for 2 or 3 years, and it's one that I play from time to time. And I saw it right before I opened the show, and I was like, it's very appropriate. It seems extremely appropriate, and I put it on the live stream title. Um, so, just to get the vibes right, so I get my coffee, and then we'll get underway. We got more than enough to talk about, and to the point of just being overwhelming. All right, so I'll holler at y'all on the other side. Appreciate you. Let's go back. All right. All right, y'all. There's a cover by Flyleaf. Well, it's not by Flyleaf. It's by what was called Beautified Diversity. I think it's a band that probably disbanded a long time ago. But you know, another Flyleaf hit and thing is, I think it was appropriate, and so I played it. It made me feel good. It always makes me feel good, but it always reminds me that we're in trying times, if you will. All right. Um, Anyways, I thought I'd just go ahead and dive into the broadcast and wait on an audience member to straggle on in here and tell me whether or not I'm pretty confident I got audio this time. Pretty confident this time. Um, I'm just gonna go ahead and dive into it. That being said, YouTube didn't tell me I was buffering right now. All right, and so with that being said, since we're in the video mode and we haven't been buffering yet, I thought we'd go ahead and play this video. And as far as I know, it's the only video that I have to share for tonight. All right, so if you got your peepers ready, see, it's from Off the InfoWars, and that's the thing about it. What's really interesting, what I want to point out right now, is that Bart Fine puts in mad work. All right, everybody knows it. It's painfully obvious. And actually, I've been putting it off. I got to give him some money. I think everybody's got to give him some money. All right, and I finally got, a little bit. I got this check right here, so I'm going to see to it, putting in mad work. But here's the thing. Regardless, I just got to give Bart Fine his props. Maybe if you don't have money, I know money can get tight. All right, give him his props and give him your prayers. Give Bart Fine your prayers for tonight. Right here, if only for a moment, right now, I think. Anyways, we're going to play this video, and, I'll talk about it on the other side, I suppose. All right, this is Bart Fine here on, I believe, the War Room on Troyer.
Bart in Georgia. Go ahead, Bart.
Hey, Bart Fine has a message to the corrupt Judge Jackson. You may not accede from the union. I have totally lost faith in our so-called justice system.
Oh, it's sick. It's totally sick.
Yeah, this is such a blatant miscarriage of justice.
And look, again, I'm not, it's just like, I just call it as I see it. How is the president saying it's sad to watch this? Well, step in and do something. Where the hell is the attorney general in this country? Seriously, where the hell is he? I don't know. Where the hell is he?
By the deep state, but all I know is the war room hasn't been the same since Roger's gone. We want him back now.
Yeah, and they're trying to lock him up. It's hard to believe, isn't it, that the former Coast is now one of the #1 targets of the deep state. Of course, hey, they tried to bring me in. They're still trying to mess with me. I'm hoping I can clear all this stuff up in 4 months and keep my record clean and, stay out of jail. But, they want to make an example out of me, too.
Yeah, they want to gag you and Roger all the way through the 2020 election.
Literally. I mean, isn't that, what other show on the air? And it really is, I mean, look, I'm not trying to inflate my own ego. It's probably, too big already. But it's like, what other show on air where both the hosts have literally been in jail because they're that big of a target of the deep state?
All right, so that was another little clip, and you can find that on General Shepherd if you type that into YouTube quite easily. Every single day you're going to find it. And keep looking for it because we'll get banned every single day. And certainly we're going to talk about YouTube, if only briefly, tonight as far as that goes. As far as getting banned over and over, and people getting banned left and right, and they've been getting banned for a long time. For years now? For years now, people have been getting banned left and right. I know probably dozens of people at this point. Specifically, I know probably dozens of people. All right. I just wanted to point that out right there. Shout out to Bart Fine. Big ups. I think he started his little spiel. He started it with the phrase, what was it? Miscarriage of justice. And I do believe he was spitting that hot fire, as he typically does. miscarriage of justice. And I do believe that that's basically what we're going to be looking at tonight. All right, as usual, per usual, gross miscarriages of justice. And that's why I wanted to start out this video, this broadcast with this here video from Bart Fine. Shout him out. Give him some money if you got some money. All right, if you don't have any money, don't even worry about it. But like I said, shout out to Bart Fine. I see the person up in the building. If you can, leave a number one or type any number, type any letter or whatever, just to let me know that you can hear my voice. I'm pretty sure you can, but hopefully you can, or else you could say so. I see you up in the building. Also, let me know where you're at, and let me know it's really good up in the hood. All right, miscarriage of justice is what he's saying, and he's talking about that Roger Stone case, which a lot of people were talking about. And see, everybody knows about it. All right. Everybody knows about it, and some people want to see him rot in prison and at least die in prison. Roger Stone. There's people out there, but regardless of how they feel about it, some people are probably indifferent about it, but they have heard about it in the political sphere. It's all over the place. And it's not the only thing. It's all sort of injustice. I'm sure all throughout D.C. and everywhere else, especially here in America, that's what I can speak to. But I can imagine that kind of America sets like the bellwether for the rest of the world, right? And in that, there's probably corruption all around. And something to think about, and we're going to dive all into it. I have a bunch of screenshots I was looking at right before the broadcast. So let's go ahead and dive into a news blitz, I think. All right, and we're kind of going to get a feel, because I know I'm talking about miscarriages of justice. 3 people up in the building. Dang, it's amazing. All right, so let me know where you're at. Let me know what you're thinking about. Let me know something serious, because we're definitely going to peruse through different various news items right now. And they're going to be, some proof are going to be very serious. All right, or let me know if something funny, because I think, more than likely we're gonna come by something funny anyways. All right, I don't ever really remember what it is I took screenshots of. All right, it's kind of a surprise to me. But I was taking a look through them earlier. We got a good amount, so we might just go ahead and blitz through some of them. Like I said, to just kind of get a feel. I hope y'all are doing well this Wednesday night. The thing is, before we get out of here, we're probably going to talk about some stuff that make most people panic, all right, and totally lose it. I don't want you to do that. All right, I don't think it's going to benefit you, and it's certainly not going to benefit me. So I would say refrain from doing that. And as we dive in a little bit further and we discuss some of these cases we've been following, I think it's going to be very important to keep our cool. And I think we're going to discuss different various methods in which to do that. Like, not only will I share, but I hope to hear from y'all, because y'all have some incredible input every single time. I would rattle off names and holler at all y'all and stuff. We're talking about people all across the flat earth, just communicating back and forth, or the triangle pyramid earth. I'm not sure which one it is, but just all over the place. And I totally appreciate it, y'all. We got a news blitz on our hands. Ex-Bill Clinton advisor, Bloomberg, and Hillary cooking up. We don't have any sort of we're not going in any order of importance, or I don't know if it's even going to tie together well. Certainly everything is relating to each other. But like I said, there's in no particular order. Ex-Bill Clinton advisor, Bloomberg, and Hillary cooking up scheme for her to become Democratic nominee. That could be totally fake news. It's from the Washington Examiner. Excuse me, maybe a couple of days ago. All right, let's take a look at that. Pretty much. See, I don't know if they're lying, or making it up, or if they got word, or this and that. It just so happens that I said this, I don't know, weeks and weeks ago, probably months ago. I wasn't the only one. I wasn't the first person I heard it from. I definitely heard it from other people before I even came out and said it. But rest assuredly, Hillary Clinton is itching and scratching to get up into the presidency, and a lot of people don't believe it. There's a lot of people out there who don't believe it, but the logic is very simple. All right, if you've been following, all right, you'll notice that Hillary Clinton, nor Barack Obama for that matter, but Hillary Clinton hasn't endorsed anybody. You know, typically when it comes to these sort of things, an endorsement would be very, very helpful, especially if you're not planning to run for president. All right? Maybe sit your ass down and endorse somebody, except no, you're not planning to. You say, yeah, you're going to. See, if you caught Hillary Clinton recently, she was talking about, yeah, she'll endorse somebody just as soon as somebody's nominated, somebody named Hillary. All right, I see that game that you're playing. And just to let you know, his thing, all sort of calamity, all sort of pandemonium, to include with this coronavirus and all sort of other things. Um, no matter what, remember that I said Hillary Clinton says she's going to get up in there? So no matter what's happening, Hillary Clinton better not try to get up in there, because I done said that she's going to get up in there, and I knew it and I called it, and she's a scheming plot. Everybody knows she's a damn liar and skeevy. Everybody knows that, I mean, they wouldn't touch her with a 10-foot pole and stuff, and that she probably smells bad. Everybody knows this. So, read judge's order saying no. Real briefly, and it's something Barfine was talking about, real briefly, judge order saying no to Roger Stone's attempt to remove her from the case because she's super totally biased, all right? And everybody knows it. Look at her cartoon face. You can even tell through the drawing that she's just like that kind of lady, right? And even the cartoon guy, he's like looking at her like, damn, you're really that kind of lady, right? And then she's like, yeah, I am that kind of lady. This guy's over here stenographing everything. He's like, damn, I'm not even going to look anybody in the eye. I'm just going to stay looking down. And she's like, yeah, I am that kind of lady. All right, you can tell through the cartoon. I forgot what I was going to say. Okay, here's the main note. All right, for those people who especially don't know about Roger Stone. I've got, like to put, just to give you a taste, if you don't know much about Roger Stone, I'm going to put it all on the table. As far as I know about Roger Stone, he's been a political schemer, like throughout his whole career, and done very scheming type things, right? In a political sense. I don't know if he's ever done anything illegal, and then it became very questionable, his relationship to a one Sheriff Scotty Israel, and that's what came to my mind a long, long time ago. We talked about it. That relationship was I didn't like that at all, right? But at the same time, that's not important. None of that's important. None of it is important. None of it. All right. What is important is that you could put anybody's face in Roger Stone's face, put anybody's name down there instead of Roger Stone, and they're getting railroaded, right? And it's completely over the top of miscarriage of justice, right? And I just want to point out that it's not just Roger Stone. In fact, dare I say, it'd be like half of the court cases you have going today in this whole nation, right? I don't know how much that is, what number that is, but it's going to be a whole bunch. Even if it's a minority of cases that are railroading people, innocent people. When I say innocent, I don't mean that he's never schemed. I just called him a schemer. He's a trickster. And that's his whole thing. That's his MO. I'm saying what's illegal. What is illegal? It doesn't matter who. Take Roger Stone out of it. You put anybody else in there. What is illegal? And then they use all sort of these different laws and excuses. Say, oh, he lied about this and that. Quite simply, he quote lied, or he might have misspoke, but he quote lied about a situation in which you're investigating one President Donald J. Trump, and you went ahead and acquitted him because try with all your might, couldn't do nothing, you had nothing, and you acquitted him after years of investigation. And so Roger Stone lied about an incident in which nobody was guilty, or proven guilty for that matter. It's one of those things, like, it really does set a precedent. And I would like to, although it seems kind of random, bring it back to say things like Charles Manson. All right? That's random. But what happened to Charles Manson is what happens to everybody else. I don't care how crazy he looks. I don't care how unsavory he looks. None of that even matters necessarily. What matters is what's illegal, and can you actually prove it? And I'm here to venture to say, probably not. In fact, most of the time, I don't know about most of the time, but at least a great minority of the time, people are there. Nobody's proving anything. at all. And that's what's taking place in these court. And here's the thing: I took a screenshot. I don't know if we're gonna come across it. If we don't, maybe we'll Google it. But there was an article I seen recently out while we're about to dive into this news blitz. There was an article I was seeing out there, and it was talking about how there's many morgues that are being backed up, that are being very, very backed up here in America, and in that they're unnatural deaths. Man, I hope I got this screenshot from earlier because it'll be a little bit more clear. But I saw this article and I forgot who even did it. But they were talking about that morgues in places here in America are getting backed up with piles and piles and piles of dead bodies. All right. The reason is because their death has to be investigated because it's unnatural. Right. In different various ways. But some of the biggest ways that unnatural deaths are taking place are drug overdoses due to that whole opioid crisis that you might have heard of. And I know it's stronger in some areas than it is probably here in San Antonio necessarily, but I gotta imagine there's some people up in opioids here up in San Antonio, and when they die, their death has to actually be investigated because it is unnatural. All right, people getting all backed up. Anyways, I thought I would bring that up. I forget why, but check this out. Apple engineer killed in Tesla, and you've probably seen this, SUV crash on Silicon Valley freeway, and he was playing video games. Now, I'm not going to say what I feel, as there's 4 people in the building. I acknowledge y'all. Hey, I'm going to keep an eye on the comments just in case, oh man, we got some comments. All right, I'm going to get to that in a second. But, I'll keep an eye on the comments just in case I'm missing something, or just in case there's something going around that I just don't know about. You let me know about it. Alright, but video games here, I'm not going to say what it is that I think about this as far as this Apple engineer. And, his unfortunate, untimely death, unnatural. I'm not going to say what I'm going to say. I'm not going to say what I had to say, but I can imagine that a lot of people out there are saying to themselves, or muttering to themselves, well, he freaking deserved it. And that's not what I'm saying. But I can imagine there's a lot of people out there saying, yeah, I mean, if you're going to die, if people are going to die, they might as well do this, right? And so you're seeing how dumb that is. And it's crazy. It's like a miscarriage of justice. That's the theme for tonight, right? It might be the theme for the rest of here until the foreseeable future. But that's the thing about it. Okay, he's playing video games and stuff, right? Acting a plum fool. He got killed, and it's unfortunate. Prayers go out to, the loved ones and stuff like that. Okay, meanwhile, at the same time, if I'm driving my car and you catch me looking at my cell phone like I'm thinking about texting, I get arrested immediately. I don't even know if I can argue against that. I mean, I kind of can, but at the same time, isn't that amazing how both of these things are happening at the same time? Anyways, like I said, news blitz, man, let's just get through it, alright? Doctor suspended for removing transgender man's... y'all, I haven't even looked into the story, alright? But before we go on to the next story, doctor suspended for removing transgender man's B-word without his consent. And the thing is that I literally do not know what they're saying. See, because there's a myriad of different variables and ways to put this story together. Without reading the article, there's no way of knowing what it is that they're saying. We might go check that out. I don't know if y'all are interested. Type in a V in the comments section if you're interested in that story and you want to find out more about that. Let's see, we got Paul's okay. Shout out to the man. Truly Paul's occasion. We got a rant by Brandon, that's the co-host. Just give me a thumbs up and I appreciate that. I don't know what that means, but I assume that it's some sort of white supremacy signal, and I totally refute it, and I don't want to get kicked off right now. Brenda, alright, I see that you got a yellow hand. What does that mean? Okay, so but Paul's okay says, I'm building, I'm lurking, and listening. That's all I ask of you, Paul. It's okay. And at the same time, all your time is precious. And I know sometimes people have to pop in and out of the broadcast. Everybody's appreciated here. even Hillary Clinton. All right. So building, I kind of am curious to know what it is you're building. Hopefully, it's not bombs for ISIS. But I'm kind of curious, but we'll just use our imagination just in case. If you are just lurking and listening, and I appreciate you and Brenda, and I appreciate Brenda. The thing is, gonna rely on Brenda tonight. All right, so I hope she came with her A game. So I really have nothing from here on out. White supremacists targeted journalists on Trump official. FBI says all this could be fake news. It's like, take it with a grain of salt. Who cares? From the New York Times, so obviously it's fake. But isn't that interesting in the whole scheme of things? White supremacists targeted journalists and a Trump official. Aren't these so-called supposed white supremacists that everybody needs to be scared of? New Jersey's on like a state of emergency or whatever due to these white supremacists that they're talking about. And meanwhile, it's these same white supremacists that they want to say that Donald Trump's all riling up. Meanwhile, Donald Trump hangs out with every race of people, to include especially India. We're going to talk about that, obviously, before we get out of here. But, and so he's totally if Donald Trump was a white supremacist, he's totally disgracing all of them. And so maybe that's why they're attacking him right now. Maybe they're not good fans of Donald Trump. All right, obviously. And so this whole narrative that they're putting together, and they're still putting it together. I mean, the wheels have just been rolling ever since I've been talking about Adam Waffen, for example, for, I don't know, many months now. They've still been continuing. Like, it's like anybody could say, hey, look for them to ramp up their rhetoric. Look for them to keep making these secret articles that nobody cares about and just salacious headlines about white supremacy that nobody's afraid of at all, dude, except into the backwoods some sort of podunk towns. Like, literally nobody cares. Alright, so making it all up and keep making it all up. Why? Because y'all are playing all sort of pandemonium. And might I add, there's all sort of pandemonium going on, and I tend to look at y'all as all suspect. And y'all know who I'm talking about out there. Same sort of people try to believe or make you believe that Donald Trump is running with all sort of white supremacists, and none of it ever made sense. They're pretty much all made up. And they're going to keep going with it, all right? Because they're absolutely desperate. And it's the point of, like, I called them out for being desperate a long time ago. And so now it's embarrassing, dude. Mike Bloomberg's campaign shares Bernie Sanders' 1960s essays. I wanted to do a news blitz. I want to just run right through this. All right, but if you haven't heard, I mean, trust me, I've discussed all sort of things that's absurd. Bernie Sanders came to, Bernie Sanders came to San Antonio, the Alamo City, talking about, I want to take away all your weapons, whatever weapons I talk about. He said that. He said, I want to. He didn't mention, but I've heard him say he wants to abort as many babies as he can in America, and especially abort babies abroad, because that will help with global warming to cool the earth down a little bit. He's literally said this. That is his platform. It's kind of absurd. He came and he was like, dude, we need a $15 minimum wage. And even though that would screw me directly, it would screw me so hard that I wouldn't even believe it. All right? I wouldn't want to believe it. And all sort of stuff. It's way over the top. Meanwhile, I didn't hardly even know about these particular essays that he's writing in the 1960s, where he was talking about how and I'm going to try and keep my language clean. For those of y'all who've already heard it, you understand. He's talking about how ladies have these fantasies of getting let's just say, taken advantage of in a forceful manner. I think you know what word I'm conjuring up here, but on a forceful, perhaps violent, against their will type of manner, seemingly. That ladies have fantasies over that, and that most men actually have fantasies of doing that to ladies. Right? I'm not exactly a virtue signaler out there, but that's never happened for me, all right? Never, ever. And I seem to believe that there's a lot of guys out there who've also never, ever thought about that. But it is kind of wild, and does draw our attention to certain things. It's kind of interesting. Harvey Weinstein just supposedly got put in jail, all right, for this whole Me Too stuff, and dozens and dozens and dozens of ladies are coming out at this point. All right. But see, okay, Harvey Weinstein is a disgusting individual. You could tell just by looking at him physically. That's not exactly what a girl would want, right? And so, but even further than that, and it's just speculation, he's got female genitalia as well, all right? And it's a mixed mash of the two, and it just blows my mind, all right? My mind's blown, and I just hope that it's a speculation. It's not even true. I just hope that's not even true. But anyways, okay, it just goes to show you that, say, for example, if Harvey Weinstein looked like Leonardo DiCaprio, do you think there would be a problem? Let's take a second to think about that. You think so? You think so? All these different various actors who I can't remember their names, all the various hunks, you know who I'm talking about, the big guys, and they're like 6'5" and blah blah blah, they're all ripped. Yeah, so it wouldn't even be a problem. All right, hardly at all. In fact, nobody would ever hear about it. And in fact, it's probably taking place and nobody ever hears about it. All right, so that's kind of interesting. Very interesting. And then think about this. On the back end, you might have forgot that 50 Shades of Grey. If 50 Shades of Grey proved anything to us, is that Bernie Sanders, in some disgusting way, might even have a point when it comes to ladies. All right, who's buying those books? Ladies were. All right. If the main character in 50 Shades of Grey looked like Harvey Weinstein, I mean, do you think that would be a nightmare book? Yeah, it probably would be. So that's kind of sick and disturbing, but I'm out here speaking on behalf of, say, the men and perhaps even the ladies out there who want nothing to do with whatever it is Bernie Sanders was freaking talking about in his disgusting essays and stuff. It's all over the top overwhelming with Bernie, right? And meanwhile, I support Bernie for Democrat candidate wholly and wholeheartedly. I absolutely do. And I'm going to keep going over it. I totally endorse Bernie Sanders for the candidacy, but not only that, it's painfully obvious that he is the number one, all right? If you're out there denying it and you're a Bernie bro and you're like, I don't know, the polls say this and that, you are being stupid, all right? And I say that because I love you. Stop being stupid. Bernie Sanders is number one in the Democratic Party, and everybody knows it. You want to believe it? Just go to one of the Bernie Sanders rallies. He's going to pack it in. Go to anybody else's rally. They're not going to do it. Not at all, all right? It's got to make you wonder why. A federal judge clears way for nation's first supervised injection site to open in Philadelphia. Congratulations, Philadelphia. Y'all are so progressive. Yeah, it's not going to be a problem. It's so weird that y'all have injection sites and they're probably like not even that far from literal places where Amish people live. Amish communities. Isn't that weird? It's weird and wild. Real briefly, I just want to say that's probably a bad idea. It's a terrible idea, and there's going to be a lot of people with different arguments on it as far as the safety and the efficacy. It's a terrible idea, and this is why. It pretty much encourages people to, it normalizes it for them so that they definitely are going to stay addicted to opioids because it's just going to be whatever, all right? And it's just not going to give them any sort of initiative to come off the opioids. Mystery smell over. Oh yeah, that was just kind of dumb. They got a mystery smell coming out of there, so good luck with that. Critical shooting incident. Now this just happened, right? I mean, like hours ago. This happened today. All right, so for that breaking news, just in case if you were asleep up until now, today, pretty much so was I. But check this out: critical shooting incident at Molson Coors Milwaukee facility. 7 people killed. Alright, I want to take this in. Obviously, like I said, I don't have no clue. Alright? I don't know the details. I don't know much more than past what's written right here. Alright? But I'll tell you something. Milwaukee police are responding to a critical incident at Molson Coors Brewery Company. Okay. Let's think about it just very simply. We already know. I'm pretty sure most people agree here. But there's going to be people who disagree out there, all right, as far as guns, when it comes to gun safety and this and that, gun rights, gun laws, common sense gun legislation. All right. People have always had guns here in America, for the most part, especially at a certain point. People made sure to be strapped up with guns. I don't know why, but it became basically commonplace, maybe for safety purposes, right? And all sort of people, especially into the country and the rural areas, they all had guns because you're running around the country, you're going to come across something that you're going to want to shoot probably. Eventually, you're going to. So you have a gun and stuff. So it's been a part of the culture. All these guns, right? And people these days are making these nonsensical things, and it's turning out to be almost like a satanic seizure that they're entering of just illogical, just nonsensical ramblings, right? Okay, so people have always had guns in America. It's kind of to show you an example that people used to go to school with their guns, in fact. I mean, I've heard testimonies that people, like in country type areas, would go to their schools and put their rifle up in the dang locker, just like everybody else. And when you're walking home, you might come across a rabbit or something. Okay, so there's always been guns, right? Guns obviously wasn't a problem. People get it. What's the problem? And I got to show you right here is not only is it taking place in schools in which people are like, they try to single out schools like it's unique. But technically it's not unique if you consider like an incident like this, for example. It's not about a school. It's about where people are crowded together. All right, so all this, we need to shore up our schools and stuff never made any sense. You need to shore up where people are crowded together regardless. And here's an incident of exactly why. All right, but not only that, because it's going to be hard. And even I don't feel comfortable going around like for example, it's not that I don't feel comfortable, but it would be out of the norm for me for if everywhere I went, people had guns everywhere I went. Even here in San Antonio, Texas, people have guns pretty much a lot of the places I go, and most of the time it's concealed and I wouldn't even know. But okay, so here's what I want to point out. There has always been guns here in America, right? And the big problem is we can't have guns everywhere, probably on a practical sense. Maybe eventually we get to that point if we were to go the other direction and be more pro-gun the way that we used to be. But the problem that we're seeing here is, assuming that these situations are real and not totally hoax, and I'm not leaving that out of the realm of possibilities. Meanwhile, I tend to believe something like this probably is real, and there probably is all sort of context behind it. The problem that we're looking at, quite simply, the ones that are ignored by everyone coming from out of Parkland, is that people are shooting people at random. And that is a problem because this quote, gun violence, that's just a part of violence, which is already a word that describes infringing on somebody physically in a very harmful manner. That's going to be violent, or even like verbally, if it could be verbally violent, I guess, to some people. And all right, violence been happening. People been getting shot up. That's the thing. Even back in the day when everybody's walking around with guns, people did get shot up. That's true. Sometimes it did come to that. It's kind of human nature. But here's the thing. The shooting up of all sort of random people is what's new. That's what people are overlooking most of the time. At least I feel. And that's what's so scary about it, is that you might not have anything to do with the situation and get shot up anyways. That's kind of a new thing. I mean, it's been happening here and there for a few decades, but it's really becoming, it's part of the norm. Like, you shoot up some people and then you start shooting up everybody. All right, you don't have any sort of manners or etiquette about it. Dare I say, people used to have etiquette about it, and that, oh yeah, you crossed me, you did something that I didn't approve of, and so therefore I'm gonna come get you with my gun, come and get you. But it's not gonna end up in a whole crowd getting shot up. Right, and obviously, I would signal to the mental health. We were trying to go to like a news blitz, and it never does work out. Right. But I was signals to that mental health, and that mental health is boiling over and bursting over. And we're going to talk about that, as we mentioned with the Bernie Bros, and I'm going to bring it up probably before the end of the broadcast. But meanwhile, if y'all don't mind, let's go through a news blitz for real, all right? I mean, I'm serious about it. That way we can get this all out of the way. And there's a couple things that probably we're going to wind up talking about at the end, and sharing together and commiserating all our information. But ABC News suspends journalists over, quote, socialist remarks in Project Veritas thing. Dude, Veritas will get you every time. Veritas is just bawling all over y'all. I mean, they got your number and stuff over and over and over and over, and they've already got 5 people lined up because they're about to expose. That's how Veritas works, and it's already blown my mind, and it's just getting more and more real, and people are just getting suspended over it. It's like, oh, I'm gonna suspend this guy. He said the wrong thing about socialists, and he was caught on camera and stuff. It's like, dude, every one of y'all is going to get fired and suspended and replaced by a person who's going to get fired and suspended afterwards. Dude, don't you think that we already figured it out? Okay, Nuremberg Wolf want coronavirus evacuees treated at Lackland. Very briefly, that's the mayor of San Antonio. I don't trust him as far as I could throw him, all right? This Nuremberg. But at the same time, I've heard people brought it up. Okay, we're going to talk about this coronavirus thing because I think it's imperative before the end of the night. All right. In fact, we might talk about it at good length right now. But for example, I heard some people say, hey, listen, y'all had some policy that you worked up, you announced, you're talking about, you're going to hold these people in quarantine at Lackland Air Force Base. And then you described that if we catch them having symptoms, you're going to then transport them to some sort of hospital in San Antonio. And a lot of people came back with their common sense and said, that sounds stupid. Why don't you just keep them in the same place? That way, because that's what a quarantine is. You dumb, stupid idiots. And like a lot of people were saying that. And then meanwhile, it seems that that's what Nuremberg is saying now too. And I just want to point that out. Let's get past politics, dude. That's going to be one of the themes of tonight as well. Let's get past these damn politics. I don't agree with hardly anything that Nuremberg says, and I don't like him, find him unsavory. But at the same time, he's saying keep those people there at Lackland, and I totally agree with that. Right? So I'm not going to just overlook that and say, oh, I don't like Nuremberg, and so we need to ship these people all around San Antonio. No, yeah, keep them there, and don't freaking let them out. Right? That being said, I want to discuss. I don't know. We might have a screenshot. There's a guy who's talking about socialism. He got suspended. Yeah, that makes a difference. But I want to talk about that, the coronavirus. I think I might have a screenshot, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I do. Relating to the coronavirus, I don't have any updates for today necessarily, but I caught some yesterday, and they were including things such as Italy. You probably heard of it. South Korea. I think I heard Iran. Different places, different various places, pretty much all sort of different places. Like maybe a dozen different countries in which they're announcing it, to include maybe Brazil. All right. So that's kind of interesting. All right. But San Francisco, I was reading an article about it. You might have seen it as well. San Francisco, along with maybe one or other, 2 other people, other different cities, had declared a state of emergency. All right, a state of emergency. That's here in the United States, over the coronavirus thing. And I took a look into it. I forgot who it was, and it might have been Fox News. Whoever it was, who cares? It's fake news. But the thing is, you better take their word for it on some things. When it comes to San Francisco, calling it a state of emergency, I'll cross-research that, but I'm pretty sure they did do that. They did do that. And then I read in the article, and I already had growing concerns, but I was like, well, what do they mean? Why are they calling that? For what reasons do they have to call a state of emergency? Because as far as I'm concerned, they've been had a state of emergency as far as poops on the sidewalks. All right, that in and of itself, the fact that you have apps dedicated to it, human poops specifically. Okay, so already a state of emergency, but they're calling it right now for the coronavirus. I looked into it. If you haven't looked into it, I don't know about today, but as far as yesterday, they said they don't have any cases, not one case of coronavirus in San Francisco, that area. And so it caused me to step back, and I said, well, why is that? How come you don't have one case? And you call it a state of emergency. The article then went on to say, well, San Francisco has a lot of people who travel to and from China all the time. So, inevitably they're going to have a state of emergency. And that's what they said in the article. And so my brain, it mushed itself into a pretzel, and I had to sit down for a little while. But, my stupid brain, my stupid simple brain was like, hey, why don't you stop all that and stop people coming from China? And you should have stopped it a while back, and you wouldn't even have to worry about it. You wouldn't be declaring a state of emergency because you would have stopped doing what you're freaking doing. All right? And I don't care what excuses you might have. Oh, they're bolstering the economy. I don't care. Take a haircut so that way you don't have to have a state of emergency. And stop continuing to ship in people from China, even though other countries are smart enough to stop that by now, and we're not. And you're calling a state of emergency. It is a state of emergency, because here's the thing. You're going to do it. Coronavirus is going to get into San Francisco. That is without a doubt. It's probably already there. But without a doubt, it's going to get there, and it's going to take over your city. And I want to call it right now, y'all are going to get locked down at a certain point in the near future. All right, you can call me a psychic if you want. Y'all going to get locked down. And it's going to be a big problem for y'all. I forgot what I want to say, but okay, here's the thing. Corona, at that point, certainly being weaponized. Now, it looked like a weapon at first. And as we're getting all these details, as Bart Fine told us a long time ago, a biological weapon. All right. And we're going to try to piece it together. All right. Because I guess that's it for the news blitz. We'll see if we'll have some screenshots after this, but I think this is kind of important. I want to talk about it. And I want to, remind you, I'm not panicking because it's not going to help. And so you can panic out there, but it's not going to help. All right. Coronavirus is in America, and it's going to spread regardless. San Francisco, if not the only place, I'm sure there's many other places, going to make sure of it. And so it's going to get out and spill out. There's going to be definitely places that are quarantined just like China are right now. You say, I don't believe it. Yeah, you're going to believe it. Please believe it. Okay, so that all being said, what we got going on right now, seeing that as a weapon, seeing that it was synthetic at the very least, no matter how it was released, whether it was an accident or purposefully, we got to see who stands to benefit, all right? Conspiracy or not, let's say none of this happened on purpose, it's all an accident, but who does benefit? Let's think about that right now. Okay, people in leadership roles in China might benefit, and in that Donald Trump has been making them bow down a little bit, just a little bit, and maybe look silly in front of their people, right? On a world stage, maybe making them look silly. All right, so Chinese, imagine this. People running China, they realize, we did a lot of weird things and bad things. We did that whole elimination of ladies by killing all the female babies, if you remember that. Having one-child policies, that was on record. Everybody knew about that. Now, killing all the little girls is going to prove to be a real problem. And I don't even think I had to describe why, all right? A whole bunch of men run around, and trust me, like, the results have come in as far as the nightmare situation of a whole bunch of men with no ladies to entertain them, if you will, all right? It's proven to be a terrible problem, as you'd imagine. So the idea of it killing specific people to include especially men, that would only stand to benefit whether or not they meant to do it. it only stands to benefit the Chinese leadership. In fact, if the Chinese leadership does not get thrown under the bus somehow, which they sway a lot of power over there. So it's going to be hard to overthrow them, and I wouldn't want to have nothing to do with it. As far as America, that's none of our business, right? Um, so they stand to benefit, but let's think about this. We got people, all sort of people who have backdoor dealings in China, right? And we've known about that for years. So although that might go under the radar, there's been people who've basically been traitors to America in a sense. I don't know in a legal sense, but in a spiritual sense, have been traitors to America and have had backdoor dealings with China, right? So do you think that those backdoor dealings have ever stopped? No, I reckon they probably haven't stopped. All right. So that being said, okay, who would have backdoor dealings with China? Let's think about this. I don't know. There could be a lot of different people that come to mind, but who could have backdoor dealings with China? Right? Feinstein. I don't know if that comes to mind. People, I don't know who comes to mind, but who could have backdoor dealings with China? Could they somehow be aware of all this what's going on? Could those people stand to benefit from importing it into America? Something to think about. And then it all starts to come together quite easily. Quite easily. And simply. There's nothing very complicated about it. Alright, so that being said, inevitable. And they're going to see to it. Meanwhile, it stands to reason that although Donald Trump's out there and he's kind of not really drawing the attention to it as some people might want him to. At the same time, he is, and you might see it as an excuse, dealing with things such as stock markets and panics and stuff like that. At the same time, there's a little bit of reason, although you might not agree with what Donald Trump's doing as far as downplaying the whole coronavirus thing, there's a little bit of reason to it. And in that, chances are in America, because we got different cultures, because we got different immune systems and stuff like that, as far as different diseases that we've become familiar with, the chances are that most Americans ain't gonna die from this. Now, that being said, from what I've seen, projections show that there will be some healthy Americans that die from this. There will be, of course, young people and old people, as you'd imagine, who die from this. People with immunocompromised respiratory problems, yeah, they're going to die from this. There's going to be a whole statistic of people who die from this, for sure. All right, but not so much as in China, which is devastating. And to see what's going to happen in other countries might prove to be devastating as well. Right? So it's gosh, man. Who's to say what I'd do in Donald Trump's shoes or the president's shoes and stuff? I'm not sure if I can call it. Plus, he probably doesn't have much of a clue. To think that he definitely has as much of a clue as some of us out there might be wishful thinking. Meanwhile, his apparent enemies, his alleged nemesis, only stand to benefit from all of this. And isn't that interesting? Meanwhile, okay, since we've been talking about the coronavirus and stuff like that, and the inevitableness of it, and the fact that it is going to kill people for sure, I also want to drive home to Don't Panic, and I'll show you different various reasons why. You've probably been hearing, you should have people who you go to for medical advice here on the internet. And it's not my interest who you go to and stuff, but you should, obviously, to kind of break it down for you, certain things that you might not understand, because as far as medicines goes, a whole world of stuff, as far as human biology goes, this whole world of stuff that, of course, we don't know. So you go to somebody who you trust, maybe a handful of people. They're probably talking about this corona stuff right now, right? We're on the wrong screenshot, but anyways, they might be talking about this corona stuff right now, right? And I don't know what screenshot to get on and stuff, man. Let's go to Google and stuff. Alright, let's go to our trusted authorities. But I wanted to talk about different solutions that you might have heard about and suggest something. In fact, one thing just came to my mind today that I might prove to be crucial. In fact, now that I kind of think about it, I think I bookmarked it up in Chrome, and we could take a look at it right now. And honestly, when I show you what it is that we're about to look at, I think that you're going to see quite clearly that I'm onto something, right? Maybe I'm talking that crazy talk, but let me see if I can bring up Chrome. But you're going to see that I'm onto something now. Before we get into this article, you might have heard vitamin C, right? I've heard that too, as far as swaying off your immune system from the inside out, bolstering vitamin C, large quantities of it. Okay, and that sounds like a pretty good idea. It doesn't sound like a bad idea to me at all, right? So I'm not anti-science at all. Yeah, vitamin C sounds pretty good, and I've heard from people like Mike Adams and other people who's like into biochemistry. They would be able to tell you, yeah, there's different extracts that you can get that'll probably help you out a whole bunch. He was talking about some sort of Chinese wood chips. He's talking about some sort of Chinese tree that grows all over the place in China that could very well have the cure for this damn coronavirus. Meanwhile, all sort of people in China are falling out because maybe they don't have no idea. I don't know if that's true. I don't know, maybe it's not true. But it's definitely worth thinking about as we prepare so as to not panic. As I mentioned the other day, it's a pretty, I like the phrase that I heard from somebody say, if you fail to prepare, well, you're preparing to fail, It's pretty clever and it makes freaking sense. We got to start preparing right now, obviously. So with that being said, I actually came across something because it came to my mind. Like, for example, InfoWars, they were talking about colloidal silver, and in that, some people, they have a gargle, and I think it's actually sold out. Things like that are selling out. They have this gargle, and of course, they have silver up in their toothpaste and stuff. They said, stuff like that, this antibacterial silver up in your mouth, it might kill, and it probably does, in fact, because that's how it acts. It might kill the coronavirus that's coming into your mouth. And so spray it into your mouth. It's just a good idea, a practice. I mean, obviously do it at a good moderation because you could overdo it. It is possible, and everybody knows that. And I was actually thinking about it. I was like, that's pretty interesting. That's pretty damn interesting right there. And then I gotta say, having nothing to do with InfoWars, I remember reading an article a while back saying that a lot of people, they'll catch diseases. It's interesting because if you compare the mouth and the nose, some people will say that it's easier to catch diseases through your nose rather than through your mouth, because in your mouth there's a lot of stuff that actually kills a lot of stuff. It's a little bit more formidable for disease even to get in through your mouth. So sometimes it just comes in through your nose because it's easier. And I remember I kept that with me in my head up until today, I still remember them talking about it. I was like, the nose, that's something interesting. That's something interesting. And I don't know if it was the same article or if a different one, and they were talking about, your eyes. And that's why they say, wash your hands. Just, if you're going and you're going to see people, wash your hands. Keep washing your hands. That's what they say. And they say, don't touch your eyes with your hands. And I've heard that since I was little. Okay, so they were talking about it. They're like, yeah, people is very likely, especially with this corona stuff, the droplets and how far they go and stuff. They said it's very likely that it could even get into your eyes. And maybe that's how it's getting in. And you can imagine it's even less formidable going through your eyes. Your eyes don't have very much, your eyes certainly don't have as much as your mouth has in order to protect itself as far as liquids. So it gets in through your eyes and it makes you sick that way. And it was making me think. But I didn't know where I was getting at until it popped in my head. I don't even know how it popped in my head, but I was thinking about the eyes. And they were talking about colloidal silver. And I was hearing about it and I put it in your mouth and gargling it. And I was thinking to myself, I better Google it. Because I was wondering to myself, could you put colloidal silver in eye drops? Does anybody do that? And so I went to Google, and where you type in any question that you'll ever think of, and somebody's already asked it on Google. I've never thought of a question that somebody hasn't already asked on Google. And sure enough, popped right up. And I was seeing all these things. I want to go before I dive into this, and I think it's going to be a reason to calm yourself down if in fact you are kind of panicked. Um, I want to say I'm not endorsing you to do anything. I'm not telling you to do anything. In fact, don't do any of this. What I'm saying, what everything that I'm about to tell you that I'm fixing to do, don't do any of it. I'm here to tell you. All right, I'm telling you right now. Okay. So meanwhile, I was like, what about putting it in your eyes? And wouldn't that fend off from this corona business? Okay, and I wasn't sure. I was getting mixed reviews on Google as you typically do for any sort of medical thing. You'll get this and that. You'll get the pros and the cons. So I wasn't sure until I read this here article. All right, I don't know if we're gonna read all of it, but let's read some of it so to get you an idea of why I know that I'm onto something, and I'm telling you, don't do it. Do not do what I'm about to say. But risks and complications of oral colloidal silver. They're talking about oral. They're not even talking about the eyeballs, but they're saying the use of silver taken by mouth can't be recommended. Said can't be recommended. Over time, colloidal silver can build up in the tissues of your body and give your mucous membranes and skin a grayish appearance. This is a symptom of a condition called Argyria, and a lot of people might have heard of this. Here's what I can promise you. From what I've heard, and the thing is, I've never seen anybody walking around with blue tongues and stuff like this. It hardly ever happens. If it does happen, you didn't know what you were doing. You maybe had some pretty messed up colloidal silver, maybe supercharged or something, and you were like chugging it every day. And that's how you made yourself blue or gray. You dumb person. Like, if you chug down Pepto Bismol, a lot of people don't know this. After a while, your tongue's gonna turn black. All right, so it's like, yeah, stop doing that. All right, but anyways, Argyria isn't reversible. Argyria is itself it isn't dangerous. See, that's what it's like, dude. It's like it's not reversible, but even they're having to admit it's not dangerous either, really. And it's defined as being medically benign. Of course, any skin discoloration isn't exactly a welcome side effect, and to that I would agree, right? Please, I mean, why would you chug this stuff? Doesn't make any damn sense. Colloidal silver also intervenes with your body's absorption of certain drugs. Okay, so now we're getting into the nitty gritty. Hear what they say. These include antibiotics and thyroid deficiency medication. Notice that thyroid deficiency is a very popular thing in America. I wonder if it has anything to do with the fluoride in the water, or if I'm making that up. All right, so some people have thyroid deficiency medications, and the silver don't help them. Meanwhile, it also downplays the performance of antibiotics. Now, I'm not a genius or anything, but the reason I got colloidal silver was to act as an antibiotic. Okay, so you can see what their words are. It says if you prescribe an antibiotic for a bacterial infection, taking colloidal silver might prevent that prescription from working effectively. And it just does not make any damn sense. Are you saying that the colloidal silver, which is an antibiotic, will work in such a way that the previous antibiotic becomes useless? And that's what you're admitting. You're admitting that the silver causes y'all's antibiotics to become useless. Meanwhile, you're not mentioning that the silver is actually acting as an antibiotic. All right, so that's how you get the idea. It's kind of like a hit piece on silver, and even they're having to admit that they don't like it. So like nursing and pregnant women who try colloidal silver as an alternative to get this, it only continues. They've pretty much sealed the deal. Once you hear their rhetoric, they say who try colloidal silver as an alternative to some cold and flu drugs should keep in mind that no trial has ever been proven colloidal silver to be safe for a developing baby. See, these people grow concerned about developing babies now. Okay, meanwhile, there isn't cold and flu medication that has been legitimately proven safe for a developing baby. You dumb idiots. All right. I mean, how easy are you going to make it to see right through you? That being said, what I discovered in doing, and don't do it, just don't do it, is I got this colloidal silver from InfoWars that I got a long time ago, and they make some good stuff. I'm here to tell you, that's gotten me out of a jam on maybe 2 occasions, sincerely, as far as infections. So I've been using that, but so what I did is I put it in a little spray bottle, put the colloidal silver in a little spray bottle, and I diluted it a certain amount in order to bring it down to a certain parts per million. All right, because I had some pretty good stuff, but I wanted to dilute it in some purified water. And what I do is I spray it in my mouth and all around my mouth, up all my nose, all up in the nose, and just you might as well spray it, or not you, me. I'm gonna spray it in my eyes. All right, because you might as well, not you, but I'm gonna do it because my theory is that it's gonna basically be a shield as far as all this corona stuff, right? It's an idea. It's definitely not an idea that anybody would want to tell you about. It's a hypothetical idea. But I think they're proving all the health benefits, for example, antimicrobial properties, helping healing skin wounds heal, possible treatment for acne, and it just goes on and on and on. Aid in conjunctivitis treatment in newborns. That's what's crazy. Y'all are proving it's like you don't know what you're saying in your articles. You're trying to downplay silver. You're trying to say it's risky. You're trying to say these drugs are not risky for babies. Meanwhile, there are no legitimate studies on your damn drugs as far as how they, happen to these babies. And meanwhile, silver literally is something that is treating newborns for conjunctivitis. So it is proven since forever that it's safe for babies. And y'all just be damn ashamed of yourselves. I mean, I know you have nefarious agendas, but at the same time, like, you're not even freaking good at it. All right. And there's a lot, I think, I got a feeling that there's a lot of different ways, to protect yourself from the corona and to cause shields around you and to bolster your immunity. Because other than that, there's not a damn thing you can do about it. It's coming for you, and you might as well just sit tight. It's coming for you. Meanwhile, there's going to be all sort of controversy from some other people who stand to benefit, in which Corona is going to spill all out over everybody, and what that's going to do is cause a scare. And it's going to cause some people to go hungry as far as not being prepared when they're in lockdown, mode, right? Not only that, it's going to have some people are going to get hit with that ultimatum. All right, you want to come out your house, you're going to get this and that vaccine. And don't you know a lot of people are going to come out their house and get this and that vaccine? I'm not here to tell them what to do. All right, but it might become a life and death situation for a lot of people out there. I'm not saying me, but for a lot of people out there. In fact, it just seems very likely. All right, that's what we got on the horizon. All right, something to be concerned about. Internet. It's like we're not gonna get out of it. There's nowhere you can run. All right, so at the end of the day, yeah, you might as well just stand up and try your best and enjoy what it's like. If right now you don't have coronavirus and you're not spilling out in pain and stuff, God bless you. You know, you have all sort of blessings right now. You take advantage. I'm looking at an herb garden right now that I have growing. It's just another thing, you know. I could lose that herb garden today. I could lose it tomorrow. I could never see the fruits of my work from my herb garden and stuff, but that's not the point necessarily. To me, these herbs are medicinalizing myself right now, just from looking at them, just from smelling them. All right, just breathing in that life and I don't know, celebrating it. I got off on a tangent. All right, but I do want to suggest that herbs as well, as it's been said for centuries, like probably are a good idea. Very strong herbs. And I'm going to be selling herbs. I'm not talking about reefer, you guys. But I'm going to be selling them herbs and stuff and getting people prepared. Like I said, stocking up. Getting prepared regardless. And, I'm not sure where we're going from here. I'm not real sure just because the coronavirus seems very important. You know, it seems very important to the point is like where people are concerned about politics. It just seems like not interesting. I understand why most people ain't interested in politics. At a certain point, we got actual real problems. All right. Speaking of that, was also a pretty important note. Let me check through the screenshots real quick, but we're gonna have to talk about that DNC and that debate that took place. What was it, last night? I caught actually during a time when I got some time. I listened to probably half of that debate. All right, and we're gonna have to discuss it. Um, Pretty much right now as we wind down, okay? But I did want to look at the screenshots to make sure we didn't miss anything. So, scientists discover the first animal that doesn't need oxygen to live. And I don't know if they're breathing in some sort of other gas or whatever. I don't know the details about that. They could be making that up. But I think we might talk about that later. If you drive an expensive car, you're probably a jerk, scientists say. That's from CNN. I never When I was a kid, there were certain things I never ever thought I would see in the news by legitimate supposed newscasters. Hot Pockets heiress sentenced to college admission scandal. Here's why people want comedian Jim Gaffigan to weigh in. All right, I don't know. I think I got it. Yeah, I got a screenshot. That's Jim Gaffigan. Funny guy, very funny. But they want him to weigh in for some reason. It's like I didn't hear about this. Actually, I did yesterday. Hot Pockets heiress. I mean, that's just so bizarre. That's so bizarre. But what I'm here to tell you is what you already know. The university system is entirely corrupt, right? And everybody knows you got some more money, you got some fame, you got influence and stuff like that. You get your kid in these colleges. Everybody knows that. Common knowledge. And so they're saying, oh, this is exactly what these people did. Yeah, I know, it's common knowledge. And they say, oh, well, it's illegal. Your whole freaking system is illegal. You freaking losers. You damn liars. Like, I mean, what else do you want from me? But they're gonna keep going. They're gonna keep going with these things and saying, "Oh, this guy's corrupt." It's like, dude, y'all all corrupt. The whole system is corrupt, and that's how y'all run it. And y'all are just incriminating people at a whim. Thing is, it's a weapon. If you do something that rubs someone the wrong way, if you say contribute money to the wrong people, you're gonna get caught up in one of these scandals, and that's how that works. All right. Tesla autopilot. He drive. He's playing video games. Good for him. Caitlin Bennett, is she the latest conservative white woman to build a career on outrage? All right, on outrage. Here's the thing. That's not, I mean, everybody's talking about Caitlin Bennett, obviously. It's pretty controversial. But I never thought that I would see something like this. Y'all should all feel ashamed of yourselves. The fact that this is a publication, right? And I'm not over here talking about like I'm a church lady, but like, you should feel ashamed of your damn self. And it's ridiculous, right? Uh, about Johnny Depp and that lady Amber Heard. What I'm understanding is that these people are both messed up, dude. They're sincerely messed up individuals, which is something that I had a notion of a while back, but I think it's confirmed. And it's kind of the point of absurdity. But check this out. All right, this is gonna be one of the last screenshots. All right. And then I do want to talk about that debate before we get out of here. All right. The interesting points that you probably took away from the debate. I want to discuss it because I think it's going to be crucial. But check this out. Grandfather of Tyler. I want to say this because it's crucial. Very crucial. This is the media. This is the media. It is a weapon on you. And it'll be turned on you on a dime. Just on a whim. As the breeze blows, it's going to be turned on you. Grandfather of Tyler, who died in a cruise ship fall, is pleading guilty to end nightmare. Now, this headline is so profound that I can't hardly believe it. Okay. You might remember this incident from a while back where, like I said, it's a grandfather. He was holding his toddler outside the window of a cruise ship, all Michael Jackson style. It proved to be not a good idea. And the little girl dropped as much of a nightmare as that sounds like it was, I'm sure. And I remember it, right? Kind of like stuck in my mind. So when it came back up, I was like, oh yeah, I do remember that. Okay? So we got this headline here. And I could have gotten the picture. They had a big old colorful picture of the guy, of the grandfather. And so they had this headline, and certainly that grandfather's name is going to be in the article. I didn't look at it because I was disgusted, but it's going to be in that article. The headline says that he wants this nightmare to end. Could you put yourself in that guy's shoes and think, what if you were that guy and you just wanted to plead guilty so that the nightmare would end? It's a nightmare that you're living from here on out. And so you're just desperately trying to mitigate some of the damage on you. And some of the emotional damage is going to take toll if you're to drag this case out any longer. And that's why I just had to say, hey, look, let's get it over with. It's a damn nightmare. Could you imagine that? Could you have some sort of empathy for that? I don't know that guy. I don't know if he's a good guy necessarily. But just assume that he is. Assume that he's innocent, like other than that particular incident, which he made a very bad choice. All right, and these people, the media, are putting his picture all on blast. They're putting his name all in the article. How in the world does that end his nightmare? Quite clearly, that's a continuation of his nightmare. Y'all are heartless, dude. It's amazing. It is cold-blooded what y'all do. I made sure to not put his picture on there. And y'all just strutting around. It's amazing. Stepfather of missing Idaho kids refuses to say if children are okay. And that's another weird thing. It's very curious. We don't have time to get all into it because we're winding it down for tonight. But I wanted to say about that debate. Let's go and just look at the pictures. Let's type in damn debate and see all the angry faces and the shouting faces. And if you just go to the highlights, I guess, on YouTube. Just go to the highlights and you're gonna see stupid things. But as I said a long time ago, it is not a debate. By definition, that's not what it is. It's almost like a brainstorming session, except that everybody's dysfunctional and hates each other. And that's what I wanted to point out. It's good images, I guess. Okay, about these guys, these very, very white people, which, hey, I don't got a problem with that. As far as these guys, they seem to like hate each other's guts, it seems as though. And they're becoming very divisive on each other now. Meanwhile, for years it seems that everybody thought the biggest thing in the world was to get Donald Trump out of office. That's what they thought it was. Meanwhile, they keep cutting each other down in devastating ways in order to make sure and ensure that nobody stands a chance against Donald Trump. And that's what they're doing right now, quite simply. And you saw the debate. I would compare it to like just, I don't even say teenagers. I'll give them the credit as saying some damn teenagers who can't articulate their thoughts very well, bickering with each other. That's what I saw on the damn debate. Y'all ought to be ashamed of yourselves and stuff, man. It's amazing. It's amazing. It reached epic proportions. But like I said, if the goal is to get Donald Trump out of office, y'all are doing the exact opposite. Y'all are making sure. It's almost like a conspiracy for Donald Trump. I almost want to like accuse them of being paid by Donald Trump. And even Bloomberg's admitted, hey, we're going to get Donald Trump elected for sure if we keep doing this. And then they keep doing it. And it's freaking over the top, unbelievable, and amazing. Okay. See, that's the reality of things right on the face. Meanwhile, okay, it's a waste of our time, and we actually have issues that could be addressed. All right, very sincere issues. If you want like an example, the top one is child sex trafficking. In fact, only deal with that and forget everything else as far as I'm concerned. How about we have some priorities? That is another. If you want me to name one, that's it right there. Let's stop that completely. Let's smash that out. Meanwhile, it's only basically being endorsed by certain constituencies to include like drag queen story hour type people. All right, their stuff is mad questionable. Thing is, we got issues, and instead of working on those issues and having teamwork in order to reach solutions, y'all are participating in the exact opposite. on something superficial. Y'all can't stop talking about racism. During a time in which the coronavirus is about to spill out all across the nation and ain't nothing being really done to stop that, y'all can't stop talking about racism and calling each other racist, calling each other sexist. And it's so stupid. You're going nowhere. And meanwhile, there's Bernie bros out there. God bless them. Who, some of them can see that. Some of them can see that the debates mean nothing. And some of them can see that regardless of the polls, Bernie Sanders has more popularity. Even though he has less than he did in 2016, and that's kind of visible, he still has well more than any of the other ones. Okay? And quite obviously, if the Democrats were trying to get Donald Trump out of office, they would go with their number one guy and they would all bolster him up right now. But however, they had no intent to do that. They want to chop each other down. And it's just goes to show you that it's not their number one priority as far as Donald Trump goes, and they're just setting themselves up for Donald Trump to lay the people's elbow and stuff on him, and it's going to be that easy. And that's what's unfortunate, is these people are desperate. They've been showing desperation signs for a while now, but it's only getting worse for them. So a long time ago, people might have guessed, oh, you know, when the Democrats get desperate enough, when they get desperate enough, yeah, look for something very bad to happen, to include bioweapons, to include terrorist activities. Look for all these things. And meanwhile, we're seeing all these things come to fruition just like we had guessed. And so it's like, you know, I don't think there's like any need to doubt ourselves, basically, at this point. They're making it real obvious. All right, but they're cutting themselves down, and they're going to cut Bernie bros down. They're going to cut Bernie down. They can't help themselves. That's what they're going to do. That's going to prove to be insanely unpopular, because most of the people who's on the Democratic side are going for Bernie, regardless of what your polls say. And perhaps they might get, I don't know, rambunctious. Perhaps they might carry on 3 cities and burn some of them down. Perhaps that's what's going to be taking place in the near future. Meanwhile, you got to understand that, for example, one example of Bernie taking the dive is he's still carrying on with this Russiagate stuff. And when it comes to Jimmy Dore, when it comes to a lot of different people who I'm sure are pretty smart, they knew that Russiagate was going to be turned on Bernie Sanders. They knew it a long time ago. And so now that's happening, and Bernie's playing right into the hand. Do you think Bernie's dumb? Do you think that he's too dumb to know that that was going to be turned against him? I don't think so. I think he's getting himself real comfortable to go ahead and lie down face first and go ahead and throw it. And when that happens, bet you all sort of calamity goes down after that. And everything's reaching a perfect storm. And 2020, although it's been like breathtaking and we've been on the edge of our seats, I think it's only going to get worse. All right. So Unwrapped by Brenda says, and we're going to leave out on this note, on these notes. I'm going to check out the comments. But Unwrapped by Brenda says, the sickos. She's talking about these sickos. She says, the creeps. She said they are around. Probably think it's normal. They probably, oh yeah, okay, yeah. See, that was a note that we touched on earlier, and it's a beautiful note to end on. On this word that we probably can't even say without getting eliminated from YouTube. They think it's so normal, and in fact, they're fostering this like sort of behavior in which it's normal for a lady to fantasize about that sort of thing. And certainly, they sold a lot of books, like we were talking about. And certainly it's not even just 50 Shades of Grey. You probably find it in other places, in other books. The fostering an idea that's normal. I think, as we get on out of here, hey, call me a misogynist pig. All right, but I think that throughout history, human beings have carried on in certain activities, right? And when you're speaking on societies, sometimes one society takes over the other society. And they'll kill all the men, typically. And if they decide to leave the women alive, they'll just take them on and put babies in them. Historically, that's what happens. All right, so I don't know if anyone wants to dispute that, but over hundreds and hundreds of years of these stories and these plots playing out and ingraining themselves into human DNA, it's causing women to act to be in a certain kind of way. Either that, or that's just naturally how they've been since day one. All right, and it causes men to act a certain way in like wartime scenarios and stuff. And like for example, instead of just killing everybody, the men in that whatever that tribe, that society, they saw the value in these ladies and putting babies in them, right? And meanwhile, these ladies knew full well, more often than not, that they better shut their mouth or they're gonna get killed. That was the situation, and so they had to basically hunker down and just go with the flow. All right, I don't know if you're gonna make those ladies like out to be bad people. I don't. If I was a lady in that situation, gosh dang it, I guess I'd go for the most handsomest one. I guess, like, what else are you gonna do besides get killed? Now maybe you're all up in Sparta and you're willing to die with your husband and stuff like that, and that's commendable too. All right, but that sort of thing has been happening on many different fronts, not only like on a nationwide conquering level, but even on individual levels. The big bad man is who gets the lady, because the lady eventually feels like comforted by his big badness. All right, but here's the thing: when it comes to those ladies who've been conquered throughout times, their men have been conquered and lost in war, and then they had to basically break themselves off. That's a survival mechanism, and it's worked itself into female consciousness, and in that, it manifests itself in these weird, what I would describe as disgusting ways, perverted ways. Right? Meanwhile, if you think about it logically, if you can step back and look at history and know that there's a certain reason why women are attracted to like big, kind of dangerous seeming men, right? You'll know that a lot of times it works out for them because those seemingly dangerous men actually do look out for them and take care of them and provides safety and everything else. All right, but though sometimes when a big bad man, he's a jerk and he's an a-hole and he treats her all wrong and slaps her around and stuff. That's also in like a that works its way in, and now that's becoming normalized, like that's a good thing. But if you look throughout history, the only time when it was ever appropriate for a lady to just let herself be treated any sort of way was right after war and her husband then got killed, and then she didn't have no other choice. So what you're looking at is the behavior of a failure, for all intents and purposes, for someone who lost. You're looking at the behavior of a lady who is a failure and knows that she better just break herself off because her people done got killed. And that's the end of it. And her people are about to get wiped off the earth, basically. And she can't do nothing about it. You know what I'm saying? That's not success. You're buying into absolute complete failure and destruction of your people. Right? The whole mentality of desiring that fantasy, which I'm sure a lot of ladies do, is centered around failure and destruction and your people being erased off the earth. And it's just disgusting. And for men who want to do that, that's pretty disgusting. And I don't think the prisons are big enough to hold y'all. And we're getting out of the real nitty gritty, but that's the candidate that's the number one candidate for president. It's a guy who's as brash as I am, and we got to get out of here. I've never read anything down that came anywhere close to what I'm hearing about coming from Bernie Sanders. It's amazing. Anyways, it's February the 26th, y'all, and I know I mention all the time, thinking about getting off of YouTube, but anyways, we've gone over the time, but I'll holler at y'all on Friday and we'll talk about it later. I appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good night. I'll holler at y'all a little bit later.